Robert, why do you think we're seeing these issues with air traffic control at these U.S. airports?
The challenges that we're facing in the U.S., both Newark in particular and Denver, sort of similar to what NAV Canada is dealing with north of the border, which is a lack of staffing coming out of the COVID pandemic. The air traffic control agencies, both sides of the border, have been slow to hire back, and it's very frustrating because the airlines have been putting their seat capacity back into play post-pandemic, but you can only go as fast as the air traffic control agencies.
So similar problems on both sides of the border, but as far as I know, we haven't had the acute outages that they've had in Newark and Denver. Let's listen to some of the air traffic controllers responsible for Newark airspace when their system went down.
Our scopes just went black again. If you care about this, contact your airline and try to get some pressure for them to fix this stuff.
I got to say, for a layperson, that seems extraordinary. Walk us through what would have been happening with pilots and controllers during those moments when they had no contact.
Right, so you're alluding to you had airplanes literally flying blind, although they were on for example, an approach procedure within their autopilot system. So it wasn't as if they were just flying all over the place without any control. They were there, and the degree of loss of contact with air traffic control was between 30 and 45 seconds. And by the way, some of the controllers have gone on stress leave. They said, look, not on my watch am I going to lose an airplane with how many souls on board. So that's the other issue facing the U.S. in particular, is aging infrastructure and these systems that have gone down. On top of that, as I mentioned, there's a lot of congestion in New York airspace. They've also got some runway construction programs going on in Newark as well. All these factors together means the Federal Aviation Administration, which oversees all air traffic control facilities, have to slow the rate of traffic into and out of the Newark area, and also Denver to a lesser degree, but that's what happened when they lost their contact with their systems. They have to slow down that flow so that traffic flying in and out of New York can do so safely.
What does it mean to have an outage for, even if it's only 45 seconds at an airport like that?
In 45 seconds, what's going to happen? You're going to start to stack up traffic backwards. So, for example, if you got flights out of Toronto heading to Newark, whether it's Air Canada or Porter, the FAA is going to have those flights slow down. So you're even going to see flight delays and cancellations on this side of the border, not to mention across the U.S., because 30, 45 seconds, and until they're absolutely sure they've reestablished contact with all the aircraft, there's a ripple effect, and all these ripple effects go down and hit other hubs, whether it's Miami or Denver or Charlotte, North Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati. Anywhere that's feeding in and out of that Newark area is going to feel those effects. So that's the immediate pushback from the FAA is when these facilities experience these momentary loss of or uptime of their screens, is to put a halt to any additional takeoffs, and as soon as they establish contact with the inbound flights, to establish a go slow protocol.
So here's the thing, a lot of Canadians fly either to or through Newark and Denver for that matter. How safe is it?
Well, it's safe. Again, I think that's the whole point about these flow restrictions, is that if the normal pace of arrivals and departures, we call them departure and takeoff slots, were, for example, 80 per hour at Newark, maybe that would be brought down to 55, whatever it is, to ensure whatever they've got there is making sure systems are up and running. That's a given. And also whatever diminished workforce they've got. I understand that Newark is only staffed up to about 67% or less of where they should be. So given a finite air traffic control resource, they simply had to reduce that flow to the point that they ensure safety is there. So I'm not worried about safety, but to the extent these aging air traffic control systems, the U.S. has got to fund those updates sooner, faster, quicker across the country, particularly in major hubs like Newark, New Jersey.
All right, Robert, thanks for talking to us.
You're quite welcome, Ian.
Robert Kokonis, president of AirTrav Inc., an aviation consulting firm.